Kamala, the first car to go from zero to nominee in 0 votes.
I really love Venn diagrams. The circles, right? 3 usually.
The Kamala is affordable because it's made with cheap foreign labor that came here illegally.
And say we're not paying them nearly enough.
And while it looks small on the outside, the interior is as roomy as a big yellow school bus.
Who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right?
And best of all, the state-of-the-art GPS will take you everywhere except the southern border.
This whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
The Kia Kamala. Critics agree it's not a smart car.
What's up? What's up, everybody? That was an intro for a Fox show, but that
was hilarious.
Persecute me, whatever. I don't care. What's up? Good morning. Good morning, everybody. 511 family. If you're here, we're doing this show live. And by the way, if you don't already know this, and you may or may not, we do comments. So if you guys are commenting, if you guys are watching, drop a comment. We'll mention your comment live on the air. So I'm here this morning, privileged to be with.
Yes, he is.
In real life, privileged to be with my longtime friend Scott Garcia.
Hello,
Pastor Scott Garcia,
Sure.
church video guy, and Jarrett Branch from Turning Point Faith, Atlantic Director of Atlantic Division, regional manager Atlantic Division.
correct us if we need to.
Yeah, go ahead and jump in there. Go ahead and jump in there, Jarrett. But this morning, as I'm coming back from Believer Summit 2024, and we're going to be talking to you guys all about that here in just a little bit. But I wanted to share a little bit of my reflections on this trip, and it was an enormous privilege to be able to go there with my daughter.
Wow.
And she's been asking for quite a while to go on a trip with us. And, go ahead and bring up that picture, Layla. So here we are in Fort Lauderdale Beach. We got to enjoy some daddy-daughter time. And for those of you out there who might say, and guess what? We have some trolls.
Yes.
And we always have trolls. Everyone has trolls. But you know what? If someone's not hating on you, then you're not doing it right. So she walked by this window, and it was a puppy store of all places. And she's like, "Hey, there's that pink Trump hat. I want that." Right. And Scott, you and I were talking about this morning how the left has accused me several times, and they'll continue to do it. I'm sure that they've accused Jarrett as well. And I know we've had conversations with Renata and several other of our friends. I actually happen to think that Jarrett probably gets it worse, because they call because not that I want to do this, but I think that the other side does it. They always bring race into the mix, and they're like, "Oh, you're getting paid to do this. You're a black guy, basically doing what the white guy wants you to do." I know they say all that to you because I've had conversations with you, Jarrett, and with Boomer, and with Renata, and with Pierre, and with all of our other brothers and sisters that frankly to us are family. And they do the same to me. They say, "Hey, you're brainwashing your child." And to that I will say, first of all, and I think you made a great point, Scott.
Yeah, I said when it's your child, it's not brainwashing, it's child rearing. So when you're giving that information to your own child, it's child rearing. If it's not your child and you're trying to give that information, now it's brainwashing.
Yeah. But I think they also get mad because they're like, "Well, I want to be the one to brainwash your child. We want them to be indoctrinated to the liberal ways and everything else." Well, guess what? We removed ourselves gladly from that system of indoctrination called the public school system. We homeschool our kids for that very reason.
We do. My wife and I do as well.
And I think especially living in California, you almost have to, right? And even the private schools, you see the same thing there. And Scott, you were a teacher at a private school. I attended a private school.
I was your teacher.
You were. You were.
Yeah.
You were. Which you think there's not a big age difference between the two of us?
There's not.
But Scott was a baby teaching babies, basically. Anyway, reflecting upon that moment and how important it is to pour into your child's life, because I'm busy. I don't know about y'all. I know Jarrett's super busy. I know you're super busy, Scott. Most of the people who are productive in life are going to be busy, but it's also important that we take that time aside to invest in our children. So as we're at Believer Summit, I asked my daughter, I said, what was your favorite part? She said, getting to watch Trump. And I've shared this before, but we were there at the final night of the RNC, not there in person, but we sitting on our couch. And my kids were glued to the TV, and I was like, you know what, this is so good for them. This is so educational for them to be here experiencing this, because this will always go with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm there, and that's a perfect picture, Layla, bring that up. She was watching Trump speak, and this is a picture of her getting to view that. And she said, my favorite part was getting to see Trump speak. And as Trump comes out, you know, his entrance song, for those of you who don't know, is always Lee Greenwood's Proud to be an American. And as I'm sitting there watching my daughter, and that, to me, that was the most important thing, because I've been privileged to be able to hear Trump speak multiple times.
And how old is your daughter, real quick?
She's 9.
9. Okay.
9 years old. I've been privileged to be able to hear Trump speak multiple times. And as I'm there watching her, I just, start tearing up. And it's because, I'm first of all, I'm a very passionate person, for those of you who know me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very emotional. But I was taken in that moment of, we are raising the next generation of people that love God, first of all, and love America. Because the other thing that was the other, probably more important moment for me was her worshiping God. And Layla, do you have a picture of that? It's one of the pictures I shared with you. My daughter sitting there, and she has a heart, because my wife, my beautiful bride, I love you so much if you're out there watching.
Men, learn how to do that all the time. Do that for your wife.
It's taken me years of practice. Go ahead and bring it up, Layla. But my beautiful bride, I give her all the credit for raising, no, it's not that one, Layla. For raising, there you go. For raising a daughter who loves Jesus, because my wife is a worship leader.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she sings, and she's got a beautiful voice.
I know that.
She sings at both Valley Bible.
Wow.
And she's gonna be on stage tomorrow night.
Nice.
Or is it tonight? It's tonight.
Wednesday.
It's been a blur.
It's been a blur, yeah.
But she's gonna be on stage tonight, and she also does worship at the Bridge.
Nice.
And but we're raising the generation, my boys as well. My little 6-year-old, every time we get in the car, he's just sitting there, and anytime it's quiet, he's singing worship songs.
That's so cool.
And they
do what we do.
They do.
Yep.
Absolutely. And what's funny is I'm not going to go into too much digression on this, but my son started a daily YouTube thing, which I'll share with you. You'll get a kick out of it. But don't neglect to take that time to teach your kids how to worship God and how to be patriots. So as we get into this, we're going to be talking about a lot of things today, but first I want to mention we do have merch. I'm proudly wearing some of our merch. Scott, I got to make sure you get some of this. Jarrett, we're going to get you on that list as well. We got to more produce, but here we go. Brave, hated, scorned, patriot. Yep. And on the back, there's a quote from Mark Twain. Layla, do we have a picture of that? There we go. In the beginning of a change, the patriot is a scarce man, and brave and hated and scorned. When his cause succeeds, the timid join him, for then it costs nothing to be a patriot. Yeah. And that's a quote by Mark Twain. Yeah.
You ever seen that video? Don't be the first follower. We played that at church before. To be that, but yeah.
So for me, God has called me, I know, to have a voice and to make other voices louder as well, including Scott's, including Jarrett's. We're going to have a show with Jarrett coming up very, very soon.
Nice.
In the next month or two. We're going to be launching. August is all about Pierre month, so we're going to be watching that, but Jarrett's is coming shortly after that. And that is my calling. And I'm not afraid to stand in front. We have a man, Trump, who's standing there literally taking bullets for all of us, for all of y'all. But I'm not afraid to do the same, because I know the audience I'm playing for, and I'm not playing for an audience of all of y'all. And hopefully we are able to bring some entertainment and information to you guys, but I'm playing for him. I'm playing for Jesus Christ. And I know everyone on this call and most, if not all of my close friends feel the same way.
Well, this show is this whole 511 media is very similar to what Pastor Ron Vietti used to always say. I'm just on fire for God, and you guys are showing up to watch me burn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amen. And we're gonna take a stand for the cause. We always have. We will continue to do so because I know the at the end of the day, that calling and being able to see our family, our daughter, our sons, my wife, marriages restored, children loving God, hopefully at some point a nation returning back to Christ through all of these efforts is what we're about. So Emma Sarah McMillian, we love you. Thank you for watching. See you there in the comments.
We're training them.
We are, absolutely. So we're going to be talking today about Kamala, liberal mindset, Secret Service investigation. Big deal going on. Saying that the buck stops here. And does the buck really stop here? I don't think so. Where does it stop at?
Ultimately, I liked which president was it? Was it the second Roosevelt had that sign on his name that the buck stops here.
Yeah.
I wish we had leaders like that.
They're using talking points, but it has no substance.
Right. Yeah.
So and then we have even more. So we're not going to get to everything we have on the list today, but we never do. That's a calling to be prepared. To be prepared for this show, to be prepared to bring as much as we can to you guys. But before we get into all of that, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, our coffee sponsor, Covenant Coffee, who fuels this show. We should put at the bottom, fueled by Covenant Coffee.
There we go.
But Covenant Coffee, their slogan is Hope in a Cup. And we stand behind everything Randy Martin is doing out there with Covenant Coffee and Covenant Ministries. They are supporting the foster youth of Kern County. They are making a large effort to change the narrative, to change the statistics behind the foster youth, providing jobs, providing job training, providing resources for the emancipated foster youth as they age out of the system.
They are being Jesus to our community. The way that on the show that I had with Marshall yesterday, we were talking about how the church needs to be doing this. And the church is at its best when it's serving the community, doing the things. And I literally am like, and there's a segue into because that's what they're doing, into our sponsor, Covenant Coffee. That is literally what they're doing. They are being what God called the church to be.
Amen. So we got Jarrett here with us. We'll do a quick little bio with Jarrett, but I've known Jarrett for really just a few months now, and I've watched this man behind the scenes for longer than that. I've seen Jarrett in action for about a year, but we got to know each other in Detroit a little bit, and we've got to know each other more and more over that time. And we were in Detroit, Jarrett, what was it, like a month ago, roughly?
Yeah, a month ago for the People's Convention. We met in person. It was a great time meeting you. I love what you guys are doing. One thing that I do like we just said is about the Covenant Coffee. It's about being what the church needs to be, and that's what TPUSA Faith is all about. We're all about bringing biblical principles back to America. You know, so many people, have these morals and they have these principles and they're conservatives, but they forget where those conservative principles actually come from. They come from the good book. So that's what we're all about. We work with churches, to empower pastors to be strong, similar to the pastors of, ones who founded this great country. Many people don't realize there's an amazing history, especially in the Northeast, where pastors were leading the battles. They weren't behind the scenes. They were on the front lines, willing to die for this country, willing to die for these freedoms that we just willingly throw away for the sake of wokeness. And it's shameful. And as being a third generation veteran, there's, two things my father taught me. The first thing he taught me was, to love the Lord with all your heart and to be a man. And the second was to love your country. There's this story I always share about my dad when we're leaving a military base. I had to be like 9 years old. It's pouring down rain. We're in El Paso in the desert, and it's just me and him, middle of nowhere. And we hear the flag going down. And my dad pulls the car over and gets out, just staying in the rain, saluting the flag. And he gets back in the car, and I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? We're like minutes away from house. No one can see you. And he's just like, you do what you need to do, the appropriate thing when no one's watching. That's how a man should be judged.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of stuck with me, and as I listen to you talk about your daughter, it really resonates with me because I'm a single father and I've been raising my kids by myself since they were 2 and 4.
Wow.
Now they're 17 and 15. I mean, they're 2 amazing children. I love them to death. But I personally know if they had a mother in the house, they would be even better because I'm a big proponent of the nuclear family. So, I watch my kids grow and I watch them change and I watch how the world is changing. And, I'm not fearful because I know the Lord is going to protect them. The Lord is going to guide them. But I'm also fearful for the kids who don't have the Lord in their life, who don't have parents willing to jump on the front lines for them and put in a good fight like you two gentlemen are doing for this country. You know, so that's why I love organizations like TPUSA Faith or Blexit, because we are on the front lines trying to make this world a better place. And we're not just doing it because we looking for accolades. We're doing it because we care about the future. You know, we care about this world and we care about the people in this world. We're not for selfish reasons. We care for the world because as Christians, we love people. You know, we generally love the people, but we have to let them know what's really going on. Because real love's not just saying, okay, it's okay to do whatever. Real love is telling people truth. And I like to tell people biblical truth.
Yep.
Amen. Amen.
Sometimes that truth hurts.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
And I'm not afraid to be offensive. You know, we talked about that last night, Scott. I'm not afraid to be offensive. And in fact, I think that I probably tend to be more offensive than not.
Yeah.
Scott's known me
Yeah.
for a long time. And I've over the years matured in that and learned to funnel that in the right direction. When I was younger, I was an immature version. I was just offensive in general. Now I'm offensive for Christ, hopefully most of the time. But Jarrett, tell us how you came into the TP family, because I don't actually even know that story myself. So, you know, a lot of times when we have guests on the show, by the way, guys, and I was talking to our friend Emma Sarah over at Ignite TV. Guys, go check out Ignite Voices TV. Emma Sarah McMillian, Bajou. Those guys are amazing, and they're good friends of ours. But we were talking about, you know, how we interview yesterday.
Mhm.
And I said, when I interview people, I just genuinely, I'm asking questions because I want to know.
Yeah.
And hopefully for those of you watching, you guys get to benefit from that as well. So Jarrett, I'm curious for you, how did you come into the Turning Point family?
Well, after I got out the military, I decided to go to college. I wanted to be a lawyer. So I'm attending school and I became a very hardcore conservative. I think the woman I'm currently dating, she's fantastic to bringing me to conservative values. And I became a hardcore conservative. So I made a name for myself and I got pulled into local politics. I started attending events and I just had a knack for it. So I ended up start running campaigns, working on federal campaigns, governor's races. I became the vice chair for the state YRs. So I was on a super path to be like the next, you know, congressman or governor. And then something didn't feel right. You know, I really enjoyed what I was doing, but something was missing. So then I found this organization called Blexit, and Blexit is all about breaking free from the victimhood mentality that permeates minority communities. But eventually we realized this permeates all communities, so we focus on all communities now. So I'm with Blexit, and it's fantastic. And at one point, I became the senior regional for Blexit, and I just made a choice. I told myself, you know what, I need to choose either politics or nonprofit, and I head first into the nonprofit. I went from making like 90 to 100,000 a year to like $1,000 a month. But I was doing it for the Lord, so I was happy. Eventually, Blexit merged with Turning Point, and it's been fantastic. Liberals' heads are exploding because we're in urban areas, we're in rural areas, we are everywhere sharing conservative values, and people are being receptive. And when we had the merger, this is one thing I love about Pierre and Renata. I was one of their top people for Blexit, but they found an opportunity in Turning Point. And what I like about them, they are willing to lose me on the Blexit side so I can grow as a person and become a better leader with another organization. And that's why I say this is more like a family. And that's one thing I was missing. So when I was in politics, I still felt by myself. You know, being a Republican, a conservative in New Jersey, there are some, but they're not as conservative as us. You know, I talked about saving babies. I talked about border control, secure borders. And a lot of conservatives don't want to touch those topics in the Northeast. They're scared to talk about it because they're scared to lose votes because they think it's so liberal, which is not. You know, so I really had the opportunity to find a family, and I really love it here. And it has to be the best job I ever had in my life. I get to talk about Jesus and conservative values all day long with people, and you can't beat that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I had a feeling that you originally came in through Blexit. You know, I wasn't sure, but I maybe I'd heard that along the way or something, but maybe we talked about it. I've had so many conversations, especially over the last week, that I can't hardly remember anything that's going on. But
What's your name? Do you remember your name?
I'm not as bad as Joe, but let's go, Brandon. But Scott, I want to intro you to our audience as well. And Scott has a show that airs Tuesdays at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. Yeah.
United Opposition. You guys would enjoy that show as well. But Scott, share with our audience a little bit about what you got going on. And I know you're pastor, lay pastor and church video guy. But share with our audience a little bit deeper who Scott is.
Well, I started off as a youth pastor at the church that you were at, and because I was at the youth pastor there, they had me teaching the Bible classes at the school, and that's how I was your teacher. But I was a 25-year-old youth pastor, barely older than the high schoolers that I was teaching. But yeah, I started off as a youth pastor, and then I've always been an artist, and so working with video and stuff like that. So then our pastor transitioned me over to working in video production and media and stuff like that. And I did that at 2 different churches for almost 20 years. And then I felt that a few years ago, God called me saying, you've been in the background too long. You have a voice, and it's time that your voice is heard. And so I've always been a pastor. I'm a pastor at the church that I'm at right now, even though I'm not on staff. But I get the opportunity, the honor to be able to speak every once in a while. I spoke a few weeks ago at one of our campuses, and I just feel that there's a message to the church in America, and mostly to the pastors who pastor these churches in America, to make sure that we are preaching what we're supposed to be preaching. We're preaching the Bible. We're being countercultural, and that we don't swing too far to either side. That we're not so. We don't open our doors so much that we don't preach the gospel, but at the same time, we don't close our doors so much that we alienate those who really need the message. And I think there's a balance to that, and I feel that that balances the church as a hospital, and anybody who is sick should be able to come into a hospital. But once you're in the hospital, you got to know we're here to help you. We want you to get better. If you come into a hospital and we just let you bleed there on the floor, we accept you the way you are, and you can just be the way you are, and you're going to bleed on the floor. Well, that doesn't make us very good doctors or nurses. That's malpractice. We're going to help you. So churches need to have that balance of welcome anybody in, but also preach the truth and help them to heal. And so I feel that there's a message to be taught to our churches that sometimes swing one way or the other. And so my passion is to communicate that balance. So
awesome. So want to share with you guys a little bit about Believer Summit, kind of recap our experience over there. And I know we came to you, Renata and I, from the hotel she was staying at on Monday, I believe it was. And it's been a whirlwind week.
Yeah,
they are because it's been nonstop. We did our show Thursday. We didn't skip a beat. We did our show Friday from the convention, and then Saturday, between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we did 13 lives. And then on Monday, we came live from her hotel. On Tuesday, we brought Pat Massetti to you guys, and here it is Wednesday, and it just all feels like a blur at this point. We're going to share a few photos. Go ahead and bring that up, Layla.
But commitment to it is a big thing. Not letting it stop. That's a big thing.
Oh, well, that's what I said. And I, when I started this thing, I said, I have to do this. And the calling is every day. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm always going to be the one on it. Sometimes you're going to hear some different voices, especially, Scott, Jared, Renata, and some of our talent, some of our team here at 511. But here we have Stephen Davis, friend of TP's, a friend of Blexit's, a friend of 511's, here with us at the convention. We had an amazing interview with Stephen. And do we have any more pictures, Layla? I think there we go. There we have Stephanie and Genesis. They were the winner of our VIP tickets. Ooh. To which I had been saying all along it was a $300 value, and in the beginning it was. And then by the time they won, the prices went up. It was $700. So we were able to bless them with $1,400.
Okay, so I was curious about this when the first talking about going here. Was Trump scheduled to speak there?
No. So Jarrett was on that call. Jarrett, you could talk about that for a second too.
Yeah. So initially, Trump wasn't scheduled to speak. We reached out to him. Again, with the campaign I've been on campaigns on a national level. It's such a fluid thing. But once he said he was coming, it was about like a 3-day turnaround. So I give thanks to the TP Action. I mean, they did amazing work. They were a 501c4. On that day, they kind of ran that day, and then when Trump got there, but it was amazing. We already had about 3,000 tickets sold before Trump came, and then once he came, we sold out. So it was a great event. I'm glad he was there. It really resonated with the audience and the Christian people there as well, because some of the people there are on the fence about Trump, so they got a chance to hear him without the leftist media distorting what he actually says. So it's been great. It was really a great time.
Hear a whole speech by Trump, not just a soundbite.
Yeah, when you hear
Yeah.
the whole speech, it makes sense. When these sound bites, they take like 3 or 4 words, and then the media runs with it, and they share with everyone else, and you see it on 50 different channels. It's ridiculous. But when you hear them in person and actually get away from all that other fluff and nonsense, it's really good.
Yeah, that's that's cool. So we got another picture here with Topher. Topher's another friend and a Turning Point contributor. This was another fun interview. I believe this was the first one we actually did live from the event. And if y'all haven't heard Topher, he's an amazing musician,
Yes.
conservative Christian rapper, which is very interesting. I'll send you a link, Scott.
That'd be cool.
You probably haven't heard it, but
My biggest question is why don't you wear the hat right now?
yeah, well, you'd get on to me as a video guy with the lighting. It makes it very, very difficult. But you know, that is kind of our signature. We actually talked about making 511 hats and just having everybody wear them. But we had a great time. We had some amazing interviews at Believer Summit, and got to be surrounded by a whole bunch of like-minded people to encourage and lift each other up. So
Kind of like being at church.
yeah, exactly. So, you know, here's another picture with Steven and Renata. And so as we're doing this, we talk about, you know, why does 511 do what they do? And do we have that video? It's number 2, I think. Yeah, it looks like.
We just had our 13th annual JJ's Legacy Day of Golf. Abby was able to capture all of those fun memories. Alex and Robert drove around the golf course and made a whole video, and then we played it at our gala on Saturday night.
We were so fortunate to be put in touch with 511 Media Group. They've put together an amazing team that they're all working together in collaboration to make sure that the finished product is everything that we hoped that it would be or more.
My initial impressions, fantastic. Prior to working with 511, there'd be a lot of back and forth, timing, you know, how long things would take. Working with 511 was very easy. They've done a great job for us. They were quick, easy to work with, and provided a very professional service. Go out there, check them out.
So if you're out there, you have a voice. Scott has a voice. Jared has a voice. Renata has a voice, and a message that needs to be amplified.
Yep.
That's what 511 does, and we're all about furthering the kingdom and taking back territory from the enemy. So, you guys need help with that. Get in touch with us, 511media.co, or you can get in touch with Renata. You can reach out to us online.
So is that the proper way to say it? CO, not co?
That's right.
Okay.
Well, either way, co, not .com, .co. Anyway, so you know we're going to get into the meat of our show now, and let's see if we have that video. I'm not sure which one it is. It's the first video. I don't have the number here, but Oompa Loompa. We're gonna be yeah. There we go.
Oompa Loompa Doompa Dee Doo, Kamala will lose, you know that it's true. Oompa Loompa Doompa Dee Dee, did you just fall out of a coconut tree? How can you win with approval at the floor? Hunter still out with some hookers and more. African Americans leaving the pack. They don't believe you're really black. I think they've abandoned you.
We like to break up the show with a little bit of humor.
Oh my gosh.
I thought it was funny. You could tell me, Scott, Jared, if you thought that was video was funny, but you know,
it's funny for all the wrong reasons.
It is. It's all right. We're edgy here. So you know the thing about Kamala is she's the fakest person that ever existed, I think, at least in that, maybe not that ever existed, but at least in the political arena, especially to be where she's at. And they talking about democracy. First of all, we talk about they talk about saving democracy and how Trump is trying to kill democracy. And it's so fascinating that everything they say is gaslighting. Everything they say that conservatives, especially the most hated class of all, white, straight male Christian conservative.
Yep.
And for you guys, they label us as Christian nationalists, but everything they say that we're doing is exactly what they're doing. And
They're projecting.
it's nothing but projection. And for Kamala, who's supposed to have been the border czar for all these years, or supposedly now she's all of a sudden not the border czar, never has been. But prior to her becoming president candidate for the Democrats,
She's selected, not elected.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And supposedly she's trying to save democracy in a world where she wasn't selected. When she was running as the presidential candidate, she got how many do you remember how many electoral votes, Jarrett?
Oh, she got 0. She got 0 electoral votes when she ran. It was just hilarious to me that she's even trying to do it again. I don't think they really think she could win. I know what they did. They did this because they were scared to lose the black female vote. Because without the black female vote, the Democratic Party has nothing, especially down ballot tickets. They know they have no good candidates to run, no good platforms, so they have to play into race. And they were using the play into race with someone who didn't even consider herself black until recently. If you look at when she first ran for office, she was the first Indian woman elected, first Indian woman. But now when it's convenient, she's black, she's putting hot sauce on greens. She's like at the BET Awards saying they're not like us. I'm on these streets just pandering. And it's funny because black men are seeing this now. They're like, oh, we don't have time for this. This is nonsense. This is ridiculous. And it's funny because they think that this is where the soft bigotry of racism comes in. They think the black voter and minority voters are so apathetic or so ignorant to what's going on in the world that they believe anything. They won't believe their own eyes. And then they make you guys the scapegoats saying, oh, white males, you guys are destroying everything. Why majorities of these people are married to white males. So like your husband's white, but like you hate white people. Like what happens over Thanksgiving dinner? Like you can sit across his parents and be like, I hate you. No, you're going to say, Grandma, pass me the potatoes. You're just full of crap with that at that point.
Yeah. Can we roll clip number 8, Layla? Speaking of, since you brought up racism here.
Is not an American value. Where do you get the idea that democracy is an American value?
We are a
democracy. No, we're not. Who said that?
It's between the Democratic and the monarchy.
It's 9.
Oh no,
9.
That's different. Republic is different than democracy. So you're just like making.
Listen to me. I don't give a damn if Kamala Harris is black, if she's white, if she's Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, Indian. It doesn't matter. If she was a bad vice president, which she is, she's not going to make a good president. All she's done these last 4 years is tinker around the country with one talking point, only speaking in rhyme, and she has aided in the destruction of this country right alongside Joe Biden. If you're going to vote for that, knowing everything that you've seen these last 4 years, then you're an idiot.
And can we bring up clip 10 also?
Donald Trump is getting.
Looks like we're having
Donald
a little bit of
22% of the black vote, and she was trying to say that's because black people are too dumb to know better. So this is what the left thinks of you, blacks.
Here's the deal. Perception is reality. And so when you look at the data that was provided in this poll, it talks about how people feel. And when people decide whether they're going to the poll or whether they're not going to the poll, it's all about how you feel in that moment. And so while the facts may not align with their feelings are dictating their reality. Their reality is that they said that they feel better or they felt better when Trump was in office.
They don't feel like they're doing better. They were doing better.
Yeah, exactly. Great point. And Jarrett, as a black man in America, especially a black man in probably one of the most liberal parts of the country, aside from where we live.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? As they said, they feel like they were doing better. It was clear, like I know for a fact that times are more difficult for me and my family. Scott, I think you can attest to the same than they were 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I had so much freedom and so much money. I didn't know what to do. We were working on expanding our business, and it's gotten so much tougher.
And last night, I went through the drive-thru at Taco Bell and paid $5.50 for a burrito supreme.
Right. What was that? Like $1.50?
Yeah, like $1.50 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, no black person's feeling like they're doing better right now. That's just a bald-faced lie from the left. We all can see our refrigerator, we see the price of gas, we see everything's going on. Now, when a black person, and I'll be frank, when they come out and saying that they support Kamala, they're not supporting any Kamala's policies. They're only doing it for two reasons: whether they're doing it because of her race, and they're doing it because they're so brainwashed against Trump that they're willing to support failed policies that only hurt them in the end. You know, they're like, oh, we don't longer have any mean tweets, and the racist xenophobe is gone, the orange man bad, blah, blah, blah. But then they can't afford to pay their rent. They can't afford gas prices. And then they're being pushed out. They're being pushed out by immigration. Like when Trump mentioned black jobs, they ran to the hill saying, oh, he's being racist. But when Al Sharpton or Dr. Umar mentions black jobs, they run to the hill and say, oh, this is so true. You know, the black jobs are being taken by illegal immigrants. And this is Kamala Harris's fault because she really doesn't care about the black community. She just cares about herself. You can see when she ran with that 94 crime bill, I mean, she made her money and her whole career off the backs of black men just because the Democrats went nuts because they let Willie Lynch out of jail. Like that whole thing wouldn't have happened from, you know what, that's again the testament to the Bush campaign. That Willie Lynch video was amazing and it really caused a change. But just like the Democrats always do, they go overboard. Just like with the whole thing with the LGBT thing. They're going extremely overboard to the point where people are sick and disgusted about what's going on because they're trying to force all these things down your throat. And they use the black community to do it. They tell them, oh, it's part of civil rights. Oh, this is part of your rights. Shouldn't you feel the same way because you're a black person? So I'm supposed to ignore my wallet. I'm supposed to ignore my stocks and bonds. I'm supposed to ignore my children's future for a feeling that you have based off my skin tone. That is a fallacy. That's illogical. But they don't want you to be logical. They want you to be emotional. And when you're emotional, you're easy to manipulate. And
Yep.
I'll be frank again, the black community and brown community has been manipulated for years by the left.
Decades.
You know, they say all these failed policies. Look around, like, oh, we don't have anything in our streets. We're not safe. Our communities are falling apart. Well, who do you keep electing? Who's spending your money? Where your tax money go? It's going to Democratic failed policies, but you're scared to get not invited to the barbecue or to be called not black because you're following these policies. And when some of our black leaders from civil rights, use Malcolm X, for example, this gentleman said the most dangerous people in America are the white liberals. He explained the danger for the black community, but they only remember by any means necessary and don't even realize that he was talking about the Constitution. He was focused on constitutional rights. And then they just focused on the fact that he was initially a black nationalist, but when he left and went to Mecca, he came back and he realized that was wrong. He realized that it was wrong to be racist. It was wrong to hate a white man just because they're white. And that's why he was murdered by the Nation of Islam, because he wasn't towing the line anymore. And as you, Frank, as a black man, we don't toe the lines. You get death threats. They call you a coon. They call you Uncle Tom. They say all sorts of awful things to you and not realizing you're really trying to help your own community because you care. I care that black babies are dying 1 out of every 4. I care at one point in New York, the most dangerous place for a black baby was the mother's womb. You know, this is not me being mean. This is me actually caring about my community. But we were taught not to care about ourselves and just to care about the government taking care of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why, because you see a lot of black voters waking up in droves. And this is why the liberals are losing a lot of their constituents, their typical historical constituents, to the conservatives, because
But
they're
only
waking
historical
up.
for the past like 30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and because they changed the narrative, like how many years ago, to say, oh, you know, the Republicans used to be for the blacks, but then the Republicans and
Excuse
Democrats.
me, I forgot how old I was. Past 40 or 50 years. 70s weren't 30 years ago. They were 50 years ago.
Right. But they're trying to change the narrative and say, oh, it was the you know, yes, the Democrats were the ones that were for slavery, and the Republicans are the ones that were freeing the slaves. But the Democrats are the ones that instituted Jim Crow, and the Democrats were the ones that have historically been racist. But the parties flopped, and now it's the Republicans, which is not true whatsoever. However,
it's only been camouflaged. It's been hidden.
And they've instituted a new form of slavery, which is get the fathers out of the home and make the government daddy now with the welfare checks and all of these things.
There was a great line in a really bad movie. Actually, it wasn't that bad, but Fast Five, the Fast and the Furious movie. Fast Five takes place down in Brazil, and the governor there, the bad guy in the movie, he says a line. I know it's only in a movie, stuff like that, but he says, "How do we maintain control? How do we maintain control? How do we do this?" He says, "If you take everything away from them, then they'll fight." They'll fight against you. But if you give them just enough, you give them a little bit of water, you give them just a little bit, then they look to you to be your supplier, and then you own them. you give them something to lose. So you supply them with just enough that they don't want to lose it, but you don't give them enough to free for themselves, but you don't give them nothing. You give them just enough to control them. And he said that line in there. I'm like, man, you see that actually happening. That's what the Democrat Party does to minorities, is let me give you just enough so that you let me be the one who's giving you just enough so that you will keep voting for me, because I'm the one giving you and I own you now. It's a new form of slavery.
Absolutely. And you know, talk about Kamala, who's supposedly now black, and she wasn't black before, and there's a whole debate and dispute over that. Now I'm racist for saying it, but
in the end, does it matter?
It doesn't. But you know what? Let's talk about what Kamala's record has been supporting especially the black community. Layla, can you roll that clip 14? When you have it ready, I'll stop talking. But you know,
hey, remember this?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris.
What a mess.
Well, do we remember what was said? What was Harris's response to that?
I don't remember, but the point is she's
probably
bringing facts,
laughing
right?
it off.
Yeah, cackling Kamala, or as our past and future president said, laughing Kamala, LAFFIN apostrophe. I thought that was that line always stuck in my head. That's a funny line. But this is Kamala's record. This is Kamala's history of how she's supported the blacks and what she's done for the black community that supposedly she's a part of. And Jarrett, go ahead. I know you want to say something.
And she's selective on crime. She actually gave money to fund the protesters who were burning down Minneapolis during the George Floyd riots, which has only hurt black and brown communities. I remember they tried to have one of these quote unquote BLM protests in Newark, and the city shut it down. They're like, we don't know who you guys are. You're not coming to our city to burn everything down for your protests. And they were able to shut it down. But she supports things like that. She also, I seen a video, I think it was a Trump campaign video, where they show Kamala Harris saying that, as her words, undocumented immigrants are not, it's not a crime. So you can cross the border, come here illegally, and it's not a crime. So again, she's selective on this, and she really is an extreme liberal. I mean, she's so extreme, and most people in America are center left and center right. I mean, she's so far to the left as she gets in. She's going to go easy on crime just because of these videos coming out, just because of her past. And look at the cities now. Look at all the major cities. You can't even go in a subway in New York without being scared to get stomped. I actually know a woman who was trampled in the subway during a small little riot.
Yeah. They have the National Guard in New York subways guarding.
Yeah, they're going to have metal detectors now checking for guns. They have National Guard there because it's not safe because the number of illegal immigrants. You go into the city now, you go down, as soon as you get into the town, there's people on the side of the roads just selling everything, and it's not safe. There's high levels of prostitution, there's drugs, there's more kidnapping. And this isn't being racist because we're seeing it with our own eyes, but they tell you, oh, you can't say that. You're a xenophobe, you're a racist, you're a such and such nationalist. It's not racist to say, hey, an influx of certain people came to this area and it's causing destruction and mayhem. We need them out of here, especially when they have no right to be here. You know, you have to earn the right to be here. You have to go it the proper ways. And some of the people who are most upset about this are Hispanic immigrants who came here the proper way because they're getting a bad rap for other people doing it the wrong way. And then we incentivize it. We get them plane tickets. We get them money. We get them housing. The street looking for houses while illegal immigrants stay in 4-star hotels in some of the nicest cities in the country. And tell me where that makes sense.
Well, you look at the two people sitting here on this camera shot, and it's easy to assume who we are. But my great grandparents were immigrants from Mexico, my father was 100% Mexican. His parents are both 100% Mexican. He married, he was a 250-pound Mexican guy with a Fu Manchu mustache. In 1968, married this little 90-pound redheaded freckled woman. Right. But you look at back, I used to tell my kids this because it's in school. They'd be like, check your privilege, white boy, check your privilege. And it's like, no, somebody earned that privilege. Your great grandparents decided to come to America, become United States citizens, raise their kids here. Your great grandfather decided, I'm not going to just work in the fields anymore. I'm going to get a better job here, bettered himself, earned that so that my dad and his brother would be the first in their family to go to college. I mean, all of that privilege was earned by people who came from another country into this country because they wanted to better themselves, and they bettered themselves and they bettered this country by doing it the proper way. I'm a descendant of immigrants.
Yeah, and if you guys think, and probably our viewers don't, and I know everybody on this call doesn't, but if you think that Democrats actually give a hoot about anybody, frankly, other than the elite and themselves, you're sorely mistaken. But I think in clip 7, Layla, that Tucker Carlson put it very well, and we'll go ahead and play that.
You need to understand. Yale University released a study last week by 3 researchers, all of them liberal, I believe, who concluded that the actual number of illegal aliens in this country is not 11 million. It's north of 22 million. 22 million. Fact 1. Fact 2. The Democratic Party, all illegals in this country, citizenship, voting rights. 22 million new voters. Fact 3. The overwhelming majority of first-time immigrant voters vote Democrat. Fact 4. The largest margin in American presidential history was 17 million votes, 1988.
Yeah.
17 million. You would add to our voter rolls 22 million at least, permanent electoral majority in perpetuity. That's what this is about. It's not about making the country better, serving our labor needs, helping the population. It's about putting Democrats in power forever.
It's the Democrats who are offering to illegal immigrants, we're going to take care of you by giving you just enough to where you count on us. And then that's how they own them.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, they're all about whatever it takes to gain power. Anything that they do that they lose on, they're going to find it just a different route, right? We talk about illegal immigration. It's all about capturing the vote. We've seen the SAVE Act. They and Jared, I would like to hear your comments on this, but the SAVE Act that supposedly was to push back on not having illegals be able to vote, which frankly, I don't think someone who's not a citizen of this country ought to be voting for who's in charge of this country. They don't have any skin in the game.
I think a great solution for that. Honestly, I do think it's too hard, and maybe purposely so, too hard to actually become a citizen in this country nowadays. Do you remember we had a worship leader at Valley Bible years ago who came from Canada. And he was 6 years in the United States and $10,000 into debt just trying to become a United States citizen living here. At that, I'm like, people who want to do it right, it's so hard for them to do it right. And I think they're purposely trying to keep people coming in, keep it hard to do it right to get more people to come in incorrectly. So they got to hide, they got to keep it low, and they got to vote for the people who are throwing them those. I think a good solution is to actually make it easier, make it a benefit to want to come in and become part of the United States. Because, I think there's a clip in there with Charlie Kirk that's talking about this. I don't know if you want to play that right now or not.
If we can bring it up.
I don't know which one it is, but we started. Yeah, I think we started playing a little bit. But he makes a great point about immigration.
Important to the fabric of this country.
No. Where is democracy in the U.S. Constitution?
Okay.
The other Charlie clip.
Yeah, 8. I think it was 8.
Yeah, 8.
Sorry about that.
It's not an American value. Where do you get the idea that democracy is an American value?
We are in a democratic monarchy. So
hold on. That's different. Republic is different than democracy. So you're just like making stuff up.
No, I'm not making stuff up.
Democracy is nowhere in our founding document. It's different form than a democracy. Totally different.
It's just a
No. Republic is you have irrefutable eternal truths that do not change just because the majority wants them to change. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, property. separation of powers, take away their rights because I don't like them. Democracy always leads to tyranny. That's what they don't teach in school. Republic, if you can, republic is that if the people no longer want a republic, then it ceases to exist. You cannot bring people into the country that don't share.
How do you think this country was? A lot of people. This country was made by people coming from different places.
Good point. So were we made by settlers? Think about it. Ever asked that question before? It's okay. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but there's a huge difference. A settler does what? Start something new. An immigrant comes to something already built. Which one started America?
Settlers.
So we're not a nation of immigrants. We're a nation of settlers. And yes, because a lot of people assimilated. The Irish did, the Polish did, the Italians did, the Germans did. We are now losing assimilation as a primary correction what a country is, which is borders, language, culture.
And see, I feel like coming in and going through the correct process to become a citizen of the United States, part of the United States, you buy into, I am now an American, and you want to push American values because you are part of it. Coming in illegally as we're bringing in and not letting them go through that process is causing division. I think we should make it easier to become a citizen the right way. And I think it'll promote people wanting to be Americans and be unified.
You're spot on with that assessment about loving your country. Because I used to cover military. In the military, if you join the Army and you're military. So I used to cover the citizenship ceremonies, and these people had such a reverence and love for the country. I mean, they were so proud to be an American. I mean, they literally Spanish vote, the Hispanic vote was going to take over America by 2050, right? So the Dems already been playing into that by all this illegal immigration and all this other nonsense. But you're right. If you bring in a whole batch of citizens who need a batch of illegal immigrants who need things, they become dependent on that government and these stuff. They're like, oh, we'll support Biden and we'll support the left. If you go to any of these shelters and talk about who they like, they love Biden. I mean, they love, you go through this citizenship where you're spending your own money, you have a love for the country, and you can't not manipulate someone who generally loves the country. So, like, what are you talking about? I just spent the last 3 years learning about the greater, and all you know about America is CNN or liberal talking points. You're going to hate this country. You know, I never thought in my life I would see people waving terrorist flags and wearing terrorist outfits. All sorts of other stuff they're tearing down and not understanding that these people was gays for Hamas. Or like, do you even know what's going on? That's like the moral high ground. And when some people have the moral superiority complex, they don't understand anything. You know, you have to realize the biggest issue for our friends, they were told, "Oh, you're doing good. You're doing something."
And they have to show everybody. They have to virtue signal. That's all they're. Whenever they're in public, that's all they're doing is virtue signaling, just to say.
Yeah, and we talk about immigration, and I think she'll be back on our show probably tomorrow, I think, or maybe later this week. But you talk about immigration. Renata da Silva, our wonderful Renata, is one who was an immigrant from Brazil.
Oh, cool!
And she did it the right way, and she did it with her husband the right way, and they were married for a long time and didn't even get to live with each other because they wanted to do it the right way. And she's one of the most patriotic people there is because she understands the importance of that, and she comes from a country that has less.
And this country needs more people like that coming into it, making this country better.
But the reality is, who are they sending here? And I don't know if we have this clip or if I sent it to you before, Layla. If not, that's okay. But talk about who they're sending. So it's been documented and on record that Venezuela, specifically, as well as many other countries, but Venezuela is documented, is emptying their prisons. And Trump has been saying this from stage, and they've been persecuting him for saying it because he's racist, because he's saying it. And that does not make a person racist because they call out the truth. But they've been persecuting Trump because he said it. They're emptying their prisons to send the worst of the worst here. And we've seen it time and time again that the criminals that are coming from other countries are coming here and committing crimes on American citizens. And the liberals don't care about that. They want the narrative quieted because the only thing they care about is staying in power. And whatever it takes to maintain that, they're going to do that, even up to and including changing the Constitution via whatever means necessary, executive order or otherwise. You've seen that in the latest calls for changes to the Supreme Court.
Yep.
That by the way, that is not just going to happen because, first of all, it would take a majority to do it.
No, a super majority.
Right, super majority to do it, and it also would take what is it, 2/3 of the states, because it's it would have to be a constitutional amendment. But will they try to do it by executive power? Absolutely, they're going to do whatever they can to take over because, like, oh, we lost because women aren't allowed to have control of their body. No, women are allowed to have control of their bodies. They're just not allowed to kill babies, and they're also, I say that, but that's not even true. Right? Because they didn't say you can't kill babies anymore. They said this isn't a God-given right via the Constitution anymore. It's up to the states. And they say, oh, well, Trump wants to do this. No. Trump has always said, I want this to be a states' rights issue. So he's pushed it back to the states, and now we're like, well, what way can we get to win this? And the way that they're trying to address that and approach it is via just changing the Constitution and essentially, in other words, doing whatever they darn well please, and stacking the courts and putting
everything that they accuse the right of wanting to do, they're literally doing.
Yeah,
they're projecting that and literally doing that, and taking, again, it comes down to like taking that one thing that somebody says and saying this is their policy, this is how they believe, and taking that one soundbite. Again, just to give you an example, you can say, hey, there are countries that are trying to let their criminals into the United States illegally through our open borders. You can say that and not be saying everybody trying to cross the border is a criminal. Yes. Is trying to hurt America. No, there are people who are trying to come over who are trying to better their lives, but there are also people who are coming over because their countries are, they try to take that one thing and say that Trump says all Mexicans are criminals, who are dangerous criminals, and that's not what's being said. But you can take any one bite, and if you don't care about the truth, anybody can take any one bite and turn it into whatever they want.
Well, and campaigns are run on sound bites all the time because most people do not. Jarrett, Scott, and I, and most of our team stays pretty well informed, but most people don't stay that well informed. So all they know is whatever propaganda the liberal media is feeding them through sound bites. So you want to call me racist? You want to call 511 racist? You want to call Jarrett racist? You want to call Scott racist? I think I can speak for all of you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't care what you call me. I don't care what you label me. I'm going to stand for the truth, and I'm going to stand.
We as Christians and people and conservatives on the right, we need to stop being afraid of what somebody's going to call us. We need to stand on our principles that are godly and good. Just because we have this principle, and they say, "Well, because you believe that, therefore you must be racist," or if you say that, you must. You know what? I know what I believe. We know what we believe. We know where we stand. We know the sincerity and the purity of what we're trying to stand for. Somebody can take that soundbite and say whatever they want. We have to stop being afraid of standing on our principles because we think somebody might misinterpret it. I mean, Jesus was misinterpreted all the time. It did not change what he said.
Yes, and regardless whether you stand on principle or not, people are going to talk about you. You can do absolutely nothing, and people are going to drag you through the mud because that's what people like to do. People like to gossip, especially in America. So I'd rather be biblically true, stand for my country, and do something and be known for doing something than not do anything at all. Like, I don't want to turn 75, 80 and look back and see my country fall into the crapper because I didn't take the opportunity to stand up and get people motivated and get people encouraged. You know, that's why I love TPUSA Faith, because we're getting the church motivated. We're getting the church and pastors strong again to speak about these issues, because we need people from the pulpit speaking these issues. People are looking to pastors, looking for people to guide them on some of these issues. And a lot of times all they have, like you said, are these small sound bites from social media or from TikTok, and they're missing the entire message, and they're being misled. And they want to know things. They want to be encouraged. They want to actually do well. But if we don't get the information out, they can't do anything. That's why groups like 511 are fantastic, because you guys are getting the proper information out to people in a way they can digest it, and it resonates with them. So, I think, continue up this amazing work, because you guys are really doing it.
People really do want to be healed. They really do want to be healed. And I think too often the church is afraid to give them treatment. I think the church is afraid of being called homophobic or racist or whatever, and to not properly give, when people come into their church, hey, here's the truth of God. This is going to set you free. Here's this sin that's in your life, just like there's sin in my life. Here's how I got set free from my sin. Here's how you can be set free from your sin. And if we're afraid to call sin, then nobody's going to get healed. And that's a problem.
Amen. Amen. So guys, I told you we weren't going to get to everything here. We never do, but we try to bring as much as we can for you guys. Tomorrow we got an awesome show coming at you. We're going to be talking about education, the education system, and all the things going on there. And also we're going to talk about some of the stuff that 511 is doing to promote education, not just here in America, but in Mexico and around the world as well. And we also, I always have been making a point to end this video, and Jared, I would like to hear your comments on this as well. But get out there and vote early,
and vote often. Wait, sorry.
No, don't vote often. Get out there and vote early. Take advantage of your mail-in ballots, because we need every vote we can get, because we need to overwhelm the system. We need the vote to be too big for them to cheat on. So Jared, you go ahead and have the last word on that.
Yeah, guys, it's really important that we vote. We can talk to our faces turn blue, but if we don't actually put in works, we're not going to get anything done. Faith without works is dead. So we really need to get out there and vote. I know mail-in, people don't like it, but we need to do it, because the left, that's what they're focused on. They're going to the people who vote once in a while and said, hey, all you have to do is mail this in, you'll be good to go. We need to go after every single vote, independents, Democrats, moderates, conservative, liberals, because everyone is fed up at this point. We have the stronger principles. We have this better ideas. We have better ideas. It's just that we need to package them in a way that it's acceptable and people can understand them. So don't turn your back on anyone. Anyone, even a super hardcore liberal, can see something on our side and they can vote for it. Talk about the average things. Talk about gas. Talk about food prices. Talk about the affordability of houses. Talk about things that matter to people, right? And don't get caught in the weeds. Don't get caught in the weeds and having all these deep conversations about race and gender and all that nonsense. Because at the end of the day, people care about those things, but those are just not prevalent issues as bad as the left tries to make them out to be. We can't just always focus on race. We can't always focus on gender. We need to focus on issues. Now, should we ignore race and gender? No, it comes up. It happens to come up. Yeah, let's talk about it. But let's not make that our central thing. And also, don't mind the words people call you. I get called a Christian nationalist. I get called a racist. I get called all sorts of awful things. But I know I'm doing the right thing, and I'm doing what the Lord is telling me to do and what guided me to do. And nothing's going to stop me, not some bad words or someone threatening me, because at the end of the day, I know this world is temporary and I know where I'm going. But while I'm here and while you're here, you need to make this world a better place. And it starts by Christians taking the vote and voting, guys. If we have a 10% increase in votes for Christian, we'll win everything. Guys, so let's be like our founding fathers. Let's be like this Black Robe Regiment. Let's be about these strong Christians who founded this country and helped save our country. Because if not, our republic is going to go. If we don't fight for a republic, we will not have a republic. So, guys, it's up to you guys to do something and be motivated, be energized, and actually care about your country. There's nothing wrong with loving your Lord, and there's nothing wrong with loving the country, no matter what the left and people say. All right. So God bless you guys.
Guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and subscribe for those notifications so you know every time we go live, which we're doing all the time. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you get out there and vote. Have a great day. God bless.
God bless.